Labą dieną visiems, aš esu Tomas. Manęs organizatoriai prašė jokių būdų neatsisukinėti ir nežiūrėti į ekraną, bet aš tenais nieko nematau, tai žiūrėsiu dėl to, kad turiu pakankamai silpną atmintį. Lewisas Mumfordas yra sakęs, pagrindinė miesto funkcija yra paversti galią formą, energiją, kultūrą, negyvą materiją gyvais meno.
The organizers asked me not to turn around under any circumstances and not to look at the screen. But I can't see anything there anyway, so I will, because my memory isn't the strongest. Lewis once said that the main function of a city is to transform power into form, energy, culture, lifeless matter into living symbols of art and biological reproduction, into social creativity. To put it in simpler terms, in simpler language, the function of a city is to inspire people. Beyond just people in the city going to work and eating, the city must inspire them. And today's topic is Vilnius, a city hungry for ideas. I believe this fits perfectly under the theme of a city of ideas. Vilnius, as we have it today, truly deserves more. My friend met a student from China and asked her which city she was from. She said, "You wouldn't know it, it's such a small city." He asked, "So, which one is it? Ha? Nis? I've never heard of such a place in my life," he said. She replied, "Let's say about 7 million residents, and that's far from being the largest city in China." So, it's such a simple example, but it perfectly illustrates how we, in this small country and small city, tend to overestimate ourselves and think that we are so special, while millions around the world live in much larger cities. And at the same time, we realize that Vilnius is not just about being big or very significant, but Vilnius isn't all that special, really, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. Our old town isn't as beautiful as Prague's. Bruges' architecture is more impressive. The Sagrada Familia in Barcelona probably outshines all of our churches, could fit in its shadow, and so on, and so on. But luckily, since it's a small city, unlike the problems of larger cities, we don't lack air. We still have quite decent air in Vilnius, but we lack fresh ideas, because the architecture and the churches we have, they are beautiful, but they're not enough to tell the world about us, and also to inspire the people who live in the city, because, in reality, we spend the majority of our lives. The goal of this presentation is to propose and demonstrate what can be done with Vilnius and to talk about very practical things. I'll speak about ideas that always float in the air and seem a bit unclear, but on the other hand, I think I have an idea we can try to consider and maybe even attempt to implement, as it's both feasible and realistic. Before that, arriving here last night, I went on Facebook. I'll ask my friends what the first 3 words, or the very first one, come to mind, the associations they have, pop into their heads when they hear the word Vilnius. I don't know, because, you see, there could be countless answers. Among them were things like Vilnius mayonnaise, which was far more popular than the Old Town rooftops or the cultural capital. Business, Bentleys, things like that. One obvious thing is that people still talk about it, about what they're thinking right now, what it's associated with for you, and the word inspiration, the word modernity, essentially all those words that perhaps you'd want to see associated with Vilnius, but they weren't there. And that's not a scientific study, but it does make you think. The question, the big question, is how to fall in love with Vilnius, or how to make someone fall in love with it at all, if that's even possible. But how to fall in love with Vilnius if you're missing a bit of a reason. It's like in any relationship. When you fall in love, isn't it unnecessary to have effectiveness, surprise, freshness? And the question is this: why? Vilnius, having been a cultural capital and ended along with those spectacular fireworks, cannot be just a cultural capital, of course, without the financial nightmare that accompanied it. That project and other complications. Beyond all that, why can't Vilnius be a cultural capital permanently? Why can't Vilnius be a center of culture 24 hours a day, around the clock? And my idea is to implement something like this, of course, on a smaller scale, perhaps. But sometimes scale isn't everything. But maybe a lot more focused is the Creative Council. So I'll explain what I mean. First of all, the Creative Council is independent from politicians, regardless of the municipality's favor, essentially. And this is very important. In this way, it is independent of the intrigues, which, as we know, are very common in those circles, dependent on them, on political wins, where one party feels the need to undo what the previous party did. And things like that, such dynamics would quickly fade. So it is independent, it is professional, as it's made up of experts. I'll explain how it's formed and how it should be done a bit later. It should be shocking, a collector of envelopes, because it should be transparent, absolutely transparent, and clear enough where there would be no room for wrongdoing, as people tend to stray. And of course, it must create reasons to fall in love. Creating, encouraging Vilnius to become something that is not only a destination for British tourists, a bachelor party spot, but also something more, a greater place, a greater city. This is what the Creative Council does, the Creative Council. First and foremost, it gathers ideas for the city. They encourage generating ideas for the city. They organize competitions to bring those ideas to life.